In this video, I'm going to take you through my process for using session recordings to find problems on your website. Session recordings can be a black hole of time consumption. You can start looking at them, burn half an hour and find absolutely nothing. So I'm going to take you through my process for figuring out what you're looking for and then going down and finding the right session recordings. So should be fun. Let's get into it. All right. The first thing to note about session recordings is you need to have a really clear understanding of what you're looking for. So you shouldn't turn to session recordings as your first port of call when you're trying to figure out what's going on your website. So what I mean by that, and what we're looking at here on this page, is a form that I've set up on the completion page. This is a platform called PostHog. And PostHog does a whole bunch of analytics, but it also lets you set up a post-purchase form, which is super useful. Like the time when customers are most likely to tell you what's gone wrong is right after they've gone through the frustration and made the purchase. So we've got a form that's set up that asks just one question, and it says, "What almost stopped you from purchasing today?" And I had this recent response a few days ago where this guy Josh has said, "Yeah, when I was filling out details for the order, when I pressed the spacebar button, the page kept scrolling to the top of the page. I end up working around this by utilizing the autofill function and not having spaces between the words of my massage business name when I tick the box to include my business name on the tax invoice." So just ignoring the grammar of that message for a second, I think what he's saying is that there's a problem where he wasn't able to properly keep the page in frame on the checkout. Now, the store that we're about to have a look at is actually built on WooCommerce, so it's got a custom checkout. It's had some issues over the years because of the migration that happened before it was that happened during it being built. So what we're going to do is take a quick look at the website to see if we can verify this issue, and then we'll start looking at the session recordings to see if we can find anyone who's having the same problem. All right, I've jumped into the website. This is the Alivo website. I've added pretty much the same product that this guy would have been checking out with. I haven't gone through to see if I can find his specific recording. We can do that in a minute, but for the time being, I'm just trying to emulate his situation as closely as possible. So put in a name. This is my old business address, so we can put this one in. Spelling mistake there, that's good. We'll put, so he was trying to put an address in, circuit 123, spacebar. I've tested this form quite a bit, and I've not been able to replicate what he is explaining or what he's describing. So let's see, 4242. He was talking about putting the business address in. So at this point, we can say that we can't replicate it. If I was digging deeper into this and not recording myself at the same time, I would go and use a different browser. I'd use a different device, like a phone or something. I'd probably do this a few different ways, but he did say he pressed the spacebar key. So he must be on a PC of some kind, so it would probably only require going through and testing iOS and maybe like Firefox or something, or Internet Explorer. There could be some kind of JavaScript that's not compatible with older browsers, but we don't know. So what we're going to do now is jump into the session recordings. So this is not going to be a Microsoft Clarity tutorial video, but I'll just kind of start from the top. So these guys, because they're operating on WordPress, we can't use the Shopify plugin, which is my preferred way to use Microsoft Clarity. But we've installed the script, and they're actually a really low volume website. So their products they have a small total addressable market. So what we're going to have to do is extend the window. Actually, you know what? For this use case, because we're looking for a specific problem and we know it happened within the last 3 or 4 days, we're just going to limit these results and just see if we can really dial down and see if we can find this guy. So now we've got our 4-day setup. There's 1,000 sessions that have gone through. The next thing we want to do is try and filter down to find session recordings that have interacted with the checkout page. So what we'll do is come into recordings. This should spit out a whole bunch of recordings anytime now. Okay, so everything's loaded now. We have 1,000 results, and I think this is where a lot of people get to. They fire up their session recordings, they know they're looking for something, and then they go and start hammering through these recordings and just watching them and not seeing a lot. Because what you'll see, I'll just zoom in, is this person had 0 clicks. They viewed 1 page and then they bounced. This person had 0 clicks. They viewed 1 page. They were here for 15 seconds. They bounced. This person had viewed 3 pages. It goes on. Like most of these recordings they're kind of meaningless. This person came in from India, and these guys don't even sell to India. So a lot of this data is junk. And what you have to do is work your way through the filters. In this case, for the filters, what we want to do is find a smart event. So Clarity gives you a whole range of stuff. I don't love this filter layout, but what they give you is a way to filter by time frame, which we're not going to do. Well, I mean, we've already applied our time frame filter, so that's fine. Location, we could use this. You know, I'm going to, just for the sake of trying to find this guy a bit more precisely. I know because the Alivo, this brand, they don't sell outside of Australia, so the fact that he's made an order means that he must be in Australia. You can check out user actions, and this is really this can be really useful, but for our situation, we don't have anything that maps up to rage clicks or dead clicks or any of the insights or actions. But what we do have is a smart event. So we know for a fact that this guy checked out. So we're going to use that as the smart event. Now, because these guys don't have a lot of traffic and they have a small total addressable market, they don't have a ton of conversions or checkouts going through. So hopefully the combination of these two filters should whittle down the list of recordings pretty heavily. That's not too bad. So let's just have a quick look at the products. So the referrer, we could go and slim this down a bit further. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to change this date. It was 3 days ago. So 1, 2, it's probably going to be between the 10th and 11th. Just want to try and get the recordings even more reduced, because watching 19 recordings, even though each of them only takes a couple of minutes, is going to take a really long time. So now he was talking about a massage business, so he's probably going to have purchased a massage related product. I'm not sure if there's any way to take this down further. Yeah, order success. Let's try that one as well. That's fine. So what I would do now, 19 is probably too many. I wouldn't watch all of these. I would pick out the handful that I think is going to relate to this guy and then go through those. So let's do that now. So if you click on one of these entries, it is going to give you a whole bunch of micro events that you can watch. So a lot of these labeled as checkout, which is interesting. What's he done here? So he's checked out, and then it looks like he's gone back to browse stuff. So let's just skip forward. I'll click on one of these. So they're on their phone. Okay, so that's another important piece of information that we can filter by. Filter in here somewhere. Okay, browser, operating system. Okay, so it's going to be... It's very unlikely to be Linux, so I'm just going to put Mac OS and Windows in here because we know that it's not iOS or Android, given that he is on a computer, on a desktop. 10 results, okay. Cool, let's have a look at this one then. This is the fun part. You do end up having to watch some session recordings, which, you know, is not the end of the world. but your mission is to cut down your time and really hammer through and look for the thing that you're trying to find, rather than just watching everything. So I'm going to go through these 10 and I'll speed the video up so you don't have to watch me. And then when we get to something insightful, I'll pull back and we can have a chat. Okay, we're back. So a couple of things to note about going through session recordings. The first thing to look for is how many pages and how many clicks the customer recorded. Usually if there's no clicks, one page, you don't need to watch it because it's not going to show you anything, especially if you're looking for something like I am. So keep it to just the entries that have a lot of clicks and a lot of pages. The next thing is you definitely want to speed up the recording. So I like 4 times speed because you can still watch what's happening and notice any details, but you slam through them. And then the last thing is once you find your recording, you can dig down into the details. It won't tell you everything, but if in my case you're looking for something specific that explains why one person is having a problem and other people aren't, I'm looking for a browser. So I actually found the session recording that that matches up to the form. So this guy, I can see that he keeps clicking from company name, and then the screen is scrolling up the page, which is really weird behavior. It could be specific to his device or something, but he's also using Edge. So we can go and have a look at that browser and make sure that there's not something funny going on there. So yeah, it was pretty lucky that I found this one. I can capture the details, but that's pretty much my recommended approach for going through and using session recordings. You need to start with a clue. There are ways to go through and use session recordings to find problems, but the problem with that approach is you can find a lot of false positives. So I'll just quickly go over my approach for if you don't have as concrete evidence that I did for this problem. If you're not looking specifically for an issue, you're looking for opportunities. What I would usually do is pick a part of the site and try and be very specific. You still want to come up with a hypothesis. So for these guys, maybe the hypothesis is that maybe customers are getting stuck and they don't understand that they have to pick some of these variations, the product options, before they go and add the product to cart. Maybe they're trying to do that and maybe they're bouncing. So what I'd do is I would create a filter. So I'm just going to go back to the dashboard for these guys and pick one of the products. So I'll actually pick a different product to look at, but I would pick a product and set the filter up by clicking on it in the dashboard. I might have just gone through that too quickly, but in Microsoft Clarity, there's this panel over here that lists all of the top pages. I'll just clear this filter. So for these guys, homepage is top, and then value lift treatment is the next most popular page. And this is a product. So I'm going to click on that, and then Clarity will automatically load regex or regular expression up here that matches this URL. So when we go over to the recordings page, the only recordings that we'll see are people who have visited this page, which is great. So that's already narrowed down your search. And what I would do now is, because you don't really have a clear understanding of what you're looking for, I would go through and focus on the recordings that have a larger number of clicks and pages. You could go and set a filter for this, but you really need to know how many clicks on average you're seeing before you go and set that up. But what you do is you watch the session recording, make sure you've set up that 4 times multiplier, and try to assume that something's broken and that this customer has hit that problem. They've experienced friction and that's why they've left, assuming that they don't go on to add to cart or make a purchase. Then you want to record that in a sheet or something like that. So for every specific problem that you find, record it separately and see if you can group them together. So by the time you go through 10 or 15 recordings, you should have a list of, a handful of problems that you think exist, and you group all of the session recordings into one of those buckets. And then the bucket with the most session recordings in it is typically the winner, and that will give you an indication, or it'll give you the best guess at where your opportunities are or what the problem is that you're seeing. So hopefully this has been useful. Appreciate you coming on this journey with me. Session recordings, we've just made it a little bit more fun. So thanks for watching, and see you for the next one.